So far, Department of Science and Humanities conducted 40 more webinars in the quarantine time. As you know that today's webinar is on application of science and technology in disaster management. A small cheer and a great welcome makes a merry fest. Now I welcome Ms. Rosali Fernando, final year, Department of Information Technology, to deliver a welcome address.
Very good morning to all. As the quote says, keep your face always towards the sunshine, and shadows will fall behind you. It gives me immense pleasure to propose develop Sir, our director, Dr. S. Shanmugavel Sir, respected principal, Dr. K. Kalidasa Murugavel Sir, Dr. M. A. Neelakandan Sir, Dean, R&D, Head, Science and Humanities Department, and all the faculty members for this webinar. Finally, I welcome all my friends and all participants who are all here. I hope this webinar will be highly useful to the participants as we are vulnerable to any disaster. Various strategies, scientific and technical approaches to migrate the disaster will be discussed in this webinar. So, I request you all to make use of this session in a better way. Thank you.
Now I welcome Mr. S. Guruvashan, final year Mechanical Engineering Department, to introduce the chief guest.
Very good morning to all. It's given me a great pleasure to introduce the chief guest of this webinar on applications of science and technology in disaster management. We are honored this morning by the presence of Honorable Chief Guest Dr. Anil Kumar Gupta, Professor of Policy and Head of the Division, Program Director, Center of Excellence on Climate Resilience, National Institute of Disaster Management, Ministry of Home Affairs, Government of India. He completed his Master of Philosophy in APS University, Riva in 1991. Then he completed his Doctor of Philosophy in APS University, Riva in 1994. And then he completed his postdoctorate Land Environment CSIR in National Environmental Engineering Research Institute, Nagpur in 1996. He has been worked as a pole scientist, senior research associate in Council of Scientific and Industrial Research, Government of India at Ambedkar Central University, Lucknow from May 1999 to May 2002. He also worked as an assistant professor lecturer in Bandalgan University from May 2002 to January 2003. He also worked as an associate professor reader Bandalgan University from February 2003 to August 2006 as a head of two departments, environmental science and natural resources. Then he also worked as an associate professor in National Institute of Disaster Management, New Delhi since inception, September 2006, Head Policy Planning Division, lead Climate Change, Environment, Policy Instruments for Disaster Resilience and Sustainability. He has been as a Joint Secretary in Environmental Biology Society in APS University, Riva from 1988 to 1990. He got a scholarship for MPhil in 1991 from Higher Education Directorate, Bhopal. He also a member of Information and Communication Regional Environment Action Center Task from 1990 to 1993. He won a Young Scientist Award in 1996 from Government of Madhya Pradesh. He also elected as a Fellow of Society of Earth Scientists, India since 2008. He also elected as a member of Executive Indian Society of Remote Sensing, Delhi from 2009 to 2012 and from 2016 to 2018. He was also a senior level fellowship of IDRC, Canada's think tank initiative at IAG New Delhi in 2011. He also a member of Research Advisory Council, Development Alternatives, New Delhi from 2012 to 2015. He has been a nominee of University Grant Commission to the governing body of Mangalore University School of Social Work from 2012 to 2017. He won an Excellence Award from Indian Association of Environmental and Occupational Health in 2012. He has been a senior technical advisor climate change position in Band 5 at Duce GIS for India NRM portfolio in 2015. She was honored a member of Commission on Ecosystem Management Core Group of South Asia. He achieved a lot. I feel very proud to introduce such a chief guest for this webinar. Thanks for giving this opportunity. Thank you.
We had a brief introduction about our chief guest. Now I request our honorable chief guest, Dr. Anil Kumar Gupta, to continue the session.
Thank you for my introduction and inviting me to discuss on this very important subject. Am I audible?
Yes, sir. Audible, sir.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. It is really a matter of pleasure that National Institute of Engineering has taken up this important initiative. In fact, as we all have discussed that this COVID-19 coronavirus pandemic, of which we have already witnessed around more than 4.5 months and nearing 5 months. We are going to complete almost 5 months, and a long lockdown period of various scales. So it was a highly unprecedented kind of scenario that is presented by a new kind of disaster. Although this disaster, which is a health emergency which is also considered broadly as a kind of environmental emergency. So some of you may be wondering that environmental emergency is an established term. So environmental emergency is a term where some undesirable situation occurs very suddenly in a short span of time without giving adequate opportunity to prepare, or where it leads suddenly to some kind of a devastating scenario, disrupting the life and livelihood benefits of the communities. So these kind of things are comprised into definition of environmental emergencies. And globally, under the United Nations Environment Program and United Nations Office of Coordination for Humanitarian Affairs, the United Nations office that coordinates with all kind of related activities, they jointly define environmental emergency like this. So this coronavirus pandemic has emerged as a major environmental emergency with major repercussions on health. Very interestingly, in the past, before this coronavirus pandemic, we were having a number of pandemic. It is not that first time we had pandemic and we never had any pandemic in the past also. We had pandemic in the past also. But what is the difference between the previous pandemic and this pandemic is that the scale, and this time even if we look at that, more than 140 countries or even more have been affected by this pandemic. That is the reason we included this kind of pandemic as a new type of disaster. And in India, we legally and officially by Government of India and by all the state governments, we notified this pandemic as a disaster. So first time any health emergency, first time any environmental emergency has been dealt by the Department of the Disaster Management Authority, Disaster Management Department and Disaster Management System, and thereby I would say by the Ministry of Home Affairs in central government, and at the level of Chief Secretary or Chief Minister at the state level. So it is a new kind of disaster it has presented. Before that, we had we were having a number of disasters. We had cyclones, we had tsunami also. Cyclones are coming very regularly. As you witnessed that during this coronavirus pandemic period also, we had two cyclones. One was a super cyclone. Super cyclone was Amphan, and the other was Nisarga. Nisarga was not a super cyclone, but it was also quite harmful to the region. And then beside this, you might have also witnessed then when this coronavirus pandemic started, it was the hot period. It was the beginning of the summer season. So we also had the challenges of managing with heat wave conditions also, because many of our southern states regularly face heat wave challenges. Though this year's heat wave has not been that much devastating, but certainly for people who are exposed, for people who do not have that kind of facility, and people who are living in vulnerable areas, the heat becomes a serious challenge, particularly for the slum dwellers, particularly for the construction worker community. These kind of people, it really becomes a very, very serious challenge. Then if you look at the other kind of disaster that we had faced during this period of coronavirus pandemic itself, these are industrial disasters. We had a major toxic release incident in Vishakhapatnam. Then we had a number of other accidents near Mumbai, Navi Mumbai, then in other states also like Chhattisgarh, and many places there were several incidences of fire, but also besides fire there were also toxic release cases, and even those led to deaths also. So this is showing a kind of a new form of disaster or changing scenario of disaster risk that we have witnessed during this coronavirus pandemic period. So what we were thinking about disasters in the past, what now we are thinking about disasters are, there is a kind of a paradigm shift. There's a lot of change in thinking, there's a lot of change in perception, there is a lot of change in the visualization about the disaster. So disasters are now more complex. Disasters are now many phases. For example, this coronavirus pandemic, it was a health emergency, it was an environment emergency, it was it was an emergency for our
Dear participants, we have informed, problem will be resolved.
Am I audible now? Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Now?
Yes, sir.
I'm sorry. Today actually Delhi Delhi is getting heavy rainfall past 3 days, and a lot of water logging is also out there, and a lot of disruption in the communication is there. So since morning we are getting minor power cuts also. So even sometimes UPS also doesn't support for a few minutes. Then we have to wait for a few minutes to connect it again. So these are also some kind of a these we call it lower order risks. These are not the disasters, but these are called as lower order risks. So sometimes this lower order risk can also lead to some kind of a disaster situation also. Anyway, so I was discussing about that how this coronavirus pandemic has earlier we were getting cyclone, we were getting flooding, we were getting drought, we were getting heat, we were getting earthquake, and so many other kind of disasters. So now there is a more and more fear that at one time we get more than one kind of disaster. So that is the additional challenge now we are facing. So therefore we are saying that Now let us talk about the multi-hazard risk scenario. What is multi-hazard? Means more than one or more than two kind of disasters, or more than one or two kind of risks are there in the one same location, and maybe it is possible that at the same time two things occur. For example, the earthquake can occur and maybe heavy rainfall can occur at the same time. So what will happen? The buildings will be destroyed, people will be homeless. But if the heavy rainfall is there, then the people will be having more exposure, because they will not be good place for even relief camps. And then there will be a lot of challenges of the drinking water. There will be a lot of challenges of, because of the flooding also. Flooding will also further degrade our infrastructure system. So these kind of challenges are now coming. So what I have done, I have tried to bring a PowerPoint, and I'll share a PowerPoint for some ideas through the pictorial representations also. So with this introduction, is my PowerPoint visible? Is my PowerPoint visible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Visible, sir.
Okay. So the key objective of my presentation today, or my talk today, is not actually giving all the answers. Why? Because all the answers cannot be given in 40 minutes time, 30 minutes time, or 1 hour time, or even if I speak for the entire day, or if you deliver it for continuously for 3 days, you will not be getting all the answers. Getting all the answers requires some time, doing a lot of research, doing a lot of brainstorming, looking into literature, doing a planning process. But what is important at the beginning, that identifying the questions. If we identify the right questions, we will end up finding the right kind of answers. There is a probability. This is a higher probability. So that is most important, that we identify the real kind of questions, and then try to look at how the science and technology, which is growing very fast, and how the infrastructure development, again, which is growing very fast, especially in Asia Pacific region over the past 15 years or so, and then looking at the kind of human miseries associated with disasters. So how we use the scientific advancement, technological advancement, and infrastructure growth to address the human miseries related with disasters. So how to find out the interlinkages between that. So I will be leading to more to questions. Why I chosen to give you more questions, because a number of young students are here, a number of research scholars are also there who are listening to me. So I will be giving them some kind of assignment. They can choose some topics to look into more detailed literature, to do some kind of project, to do some science, some kind of article. They can write so many articles. They can make a project leading to that Professor Gupta had come, and Professor Gupta had given this question, and then you try to find out the answers. Maybe you can even find out better answers than me, and this is what actually I want. So let us look at this first picture. And very interestingly, this first picture, it's very simple. It's very easy to understand. And the term that you see here, environmental coordinate curve. Who was Coordinate? Coordinate was a scientist, economic scientist, I say. He was an economist, but yes, based on the scientific principles. He is the person who had actually given the concept of national economy. Most of you are aware now that we say that GDP growth. What is GDP? GDP is the measure of national economy. So Coordinate had given the concept of national economy in 1930, and when he gave this national economy concept, he clearly spelled out that for improving the per capita prosperity. What is prosperity? The better quality of life, and that we call it happiness. Or so all the resources should be available for everyone. Everyone should have a good housing. Everyone should have good amount of water, a good education, good communication. Everyone should be happy. Which is in fact is a kind of utopia that is never possible. You get everything, then also it is likely that you are not fully happy. So that is also possible. And a nearby person who is living in a hut may be happier than you. So those are different dimensions. So there also a different kind of science comes in the picture. But anyway, I'm discussing here about the infrastructure and facilities and all that we usually account within when we say that standard of living, or HDI, Human Development Index kind of thing. So here, for improving the per capita prosperity, usually we need to do environmental damage. How we do and why we do environmental damage? Because we have to exploit the things from Mother Earth. We have to exploit the things from nature. For example, we take water, we take air, we utilize land, we take food, fiber, timber, we use our water bodies, we use rivers, we use forests, so many things, everything we get from nature. But in return, what do we give? We give all discharges, emissions, waste, degradation of land, everything that the worst we can do to nature, we do all that. So that is something, but that is inevitable. That environmental exploitation is important for improving the life of the people. But this is also a reality that you keep on degrading ecosystems. What will happen? This exploitation will give you, to some time, it will give you improvement in the prosperity. But after some time, what will happen? The lag phase will come. And you keep on doing damage and you are not going in return. And then rather, the development again, it starts declining. So this decline indicates the enhancement of the disastrous scenarios, enhancement of the disaster risk. That is basically, this is the lag phase that is showing that if you continue doing environmental damage, the per capita prosperity is not going to improve us. I am simply saying that you have a rice plant, or you have any other plant, you have planted in your garden, and you give lot of water to it, it will grow. But you keep on giving so much of water, you flood it, it will not grow to 30 feet height, or a rice crop is not growing. And similarly, a human being can grow even 6 feet, 5 inch, but you give him best nutrition, you give him lot of vitamins, you give him lot of proteins, he is not going to become 15 feet tall. So it means there is a limits to growth. And this is the title of a book. Limits to Growth is the title of a book that was released in 1980 by the Club of Rome, a club of very intellectual elite class people in England. And they were discussing about that the globe, what will happen about the humanity, what will happen about the human race if this environment keeps degrading. So they wrote a book called Limits to Growth. Very interestingly, and because some of the participants, some of the members who might have read the books on ecology, there is a concept called Liebig's law of minimum. So limits to growth is there also in the ecology also. There we say that the parameter in least supply becomes the limiting factor. For example, when you cook your food, you have everything, but you are not having salt, then probably your food will not be complete. So although salt is required in a very limited quantity, but that is the limiting factor. That becomes the limiting factor, and your food is not complete. So this is kind of thing in our environmental system or in the natural system also. Similarly, in our mechanical systems also. For example, you have a motorbike, but there are 2 or 3 very specific points where actually you start the ignition. Unless you start the ignition, your motor is not going, you are not going to convert the fuel to energy, your motor is not going to run, then your bicycle is not going to, bike is not going to run, or your car is not going to run. So those are the kind of limiting points which are very, very important in understanding the failure of scenarios if we do not take care of the things. Now look at this picture. This picture is again very important and very interesting also. Look at the happiness score. Nowadays we are talking about the happiness score, but many of you must be knowing about the ecological footprint also. What is ecological footprint? So how much ecosystems you exploit for your development and then you become happy is the ecological footprint. So many countries like Australia, US, Kuwait, Switzerland, Qatar are higher in ecological footprint and relatively higher in happiness score also. The interesting thing is that the moment you improve your happiness, if you want to make everyone happy, then certainly as in India now we say Swachh Bharat Abhiyan, the cleanliness mission. So we are saying everyone that every day you should bath, and you should have full level of hygienic conditions. You should clean your house, you should clean your car and everything. Then what it requires? It requires water. But on the other hand, if you look at our groundwater board, so he will be showing, the groundwater board will be showing you the picture where a lot of red points are there, and red points are the critical zones of groundwater. Means groundwater is no more available, or groundwater is below critical conditions. Then look at the pollution control board. They will show you that whatever water is there, it is not fit for use, it is contaminated, it is polluted. So we are living within a dichotomy situation. Dichotomy. So on one hand, we have to achieve the sustainable development goals. Some of the speakers might have already discussed with you that we have a set of 17 sustainable development goals, and we have planned that every country should achieve by 2030, 2015 to 2030. So 15 years. Sanaya, I am in a meeting. So can you drop me a message? But economists say that for achieving the sustainable development goal, which is more a humanitarian kind of goal, we need a growth rate of 12% growth rate in national economy. But what is the reality? That globally, not only India, most of the countries are just, the growth rate is 5%, 6%, 7%, like this, here and there, but not moving more than past 15 years or so. So what is the reason? There is some reason. If something is not happening, something is going wrong, it means there is some reason. So that is the new question to science and technology, that despite of having the best technological advances, despite of having best knowledge, despite of having best IITs and IITs, despite of having the best education, despite of having the best communication system, some teachers, your teachers must recall that 30 years before, what kind of telephones people were using. Even a two piece telephone, that mouthpiece was different and the earpiece was different. Now see the revolution in communication technology, and now we are very shortly moving to the kind of a more and more frequent of use of robotics, artificial intelligence, and all that. Now our top focus is nanotechnology. So see from where we started and from where we have reached in technology. But on the other hand, despite of the best efforts in technology, our life is not improving. Our health risks are not going down. We are getting every 6 months we are getting a new disease. Sometimes few years before we never thought of bird flu. Few years before we never thought of that swine flu, and then Hini. And so many new diseases are coming. Now this disease has come, the coronavirus. A new disease, Zika virus is also there. Now disease, a new Kawasaki virus is also getting reported. So see, the moment we are progressing fast with technology, on the other hand, human miseries are also growing very fastly, and even disasters. Earlier we were getting maybe 3-4 kind of disasters in a month's time. Now every day you are getting some disaster. You open up your TV channel, news channel, and you find that at least if there are 8 headlines, 2 or 3 headlines will be related with some disasters. One may be accident, another may be fire, third may be a flooding or cyclone or drought or something. So everywhere you open up your newspaper, for front page itself, you will get a news of disasters. So what is happening? There is something wrong, and that poses a question that we have to interrogate it. We have to introspect it. We have to do some kind of research that why it is increasing. Again, new question. Disasters. Now this red line shows that there is a decline in number of deaths. So with betterment of early warning system, improvement in technology, better communication system, what we have been able to curb down the deaths because of disasters. But on the other hand, number of disasters are also becoming, and number of people affected by disasters are also increasing. Affected means the geographical spread of disasters is increasing day by day. Whereas number of people dying is less, but number of people getting injured is more. Number of people falling sick is more. Number of people losing their livelihood is more. Number of people affecting losing their economic assets is more. Number of people getting their home destroyed is more. So number of people getting affected is more. People dying is less. So this again a third kind of dichotomy. This is also a new research that with advancement of technology, by which we could curb down the deaths, we are not able to curb down the number of people affected. We are not able to curb down the number of disasters occurring. So what do we do? Where we have to work this? So we have to interrogate that what further we need to do. How the science and technology application has to be tweaked. Whether some kind of science is available, it is not being applied. Yes, this is one of the important aspects, that there are a lot of science available. That the climate modeling downscaling. The climate models are available maybe the 500 kilometers scale, 300 kilometers scale. See our district or taluka, they want at 50 kilometers scale, or 30 kilometers scale, 70 kilometers scale, or sometimes we want for a particular city. So how we bring down do the downscaling of climate models, and so that we have better climatic projections of our city. Because if we are planning for Visakhapatnam, we should know what is going to happen in Visakhapatnam in next 30 years or so. So that is the new questions of science and technology improvements. Then, very interestingly, this picture shows that all type of disasters are increasing in numbers. But see, some kind of disasters are increasing more, which are disasters like flooding. And even if I do not show the picture, you all know, because 15 years before, 10 years before, half of the country is getting flooded, or was getting flooded. Now more than 3/4 of the country is getting flooded. Earlier it was only northeast and some of the coastal states, those were getting flooded, not everywhere. Now flood has become so common. And very interestingly, the most of the places which are getting flooded, after a few months, those will be getting affected with the drought, water scarcity, and then after a few months they will be facing the heat. So see what is happening. The same place facing water, it means too much of water. The same place facing drought, it means no water. And the same place facing heat, it means very high heat. It means water is there, therefore it was flooding. But now water is not there, so it is a wastage of water. We are not able to hold the water in the soil. We are not able to manage the water. We are not able to manage the water resources. So the science of hydrology management, science of water resource management really becomes a very important thing. And then its connectivity, its connection with the climatic phenomenon, because now the rainfall pattern will change. Less time of rainfall, but heavy amount of downpour. So these kind of things are coming. So these are the kind of things that that makes us a new understanding. Then, since we have been talking about the nature, we have been talking about the environment, and globally there is a new discipline that has recently evolved. That this new discipline is called ecosystem approach to DRR. Why ecosystem approach is important? Why engineers should understand about the ecosystem approach? Many of the engineers, they do on the landslide. They work on landslide. They work in the coastal landslide. They work on the mountain landslides. And mountain, what is a landslide? Basically, that is that the cause is because of the slope erosion. Slope erosion. So you have to stabilize this way. A simple example: how ecosystems play a role, how your biological flora and fauna plays a role, how it can help stabilize your mountain systems. Chennai, we face a major flooding, and death and decay of the water bodies, including your lakes, ponds, and temple tanks, has been one of the major cause. Not only Chennai, in Surat also, in Hyderabad also, in your Bengaluru also. So many of the cities are now every year getting flooded, and we find that all the wetlands which were the natural flood control sites are now vanished. Those are either occupied by the real estates, and buildings are constructed, and this and that. So there is a degradation of natural resources. All the areas now we have converted to concrete and paved up areas. So where the water will go? Where the ecosystems are the natural flood control sites. Ecosystem provide us a climate moderation, flood moderation, aquaculture, so many things, and food, fiber, recreational, spiritual values. So these things are important. I will skip some of the things so that I can build it faster. So when we discuss about disaster risk management, another dimension of science application is that there has to be very useful tools for assessing the disaster risk. But again, disaster risk management requires a lot of data from the policy side, lot of data from the project side and ground side also. And if we look at the established procedures which are available, for example, environmental impact assessment is there. Some of the students in engineering also, they study. So this picture shows that how at various stages, how these the data within a strategic environmental assessment and within the cumulative environmental impact assessment can feed into disaster risk management process. So that is very interesting. Then again, sometimes what happens for managing a disaster, you get so many choices. For example, if there's some area is getting flooded, so what do we do? One is either you relocate people, or you have the buildings with raised plinth height. You redesign the buildings, and the buildings are safer even though the water is there. Your road is elevated, your buildings are elevated, and your systems are not getting affected. Third is you do a floodplain zoning kind of thing. So you divide that which will be submerged area, which will be buffer area, and which will be safer area. 10 minutes? All right, thank you. So the environmental impact assessment also serves as a good tool to assess these kind of various options, that which is the best option available for this kind of purpose. So understand that which option will be better. Then usually that EIA environmental impact assessment is also done for understanding the impact of various disaster responses. For example, in this coronavirus period also, now there are so many things coming about the huge amount of waste being generated. For example, this PPE kit, mask, and so many things. The huge amount of biomedical waste is being generated. So how to deal with that? Even when we were providing food to migrant workers, a lot of plastic and polythene material was there, and then it was disposed of everywhere, and then it has reached our farmlands, the water bodies and everything, and then plastic is not going to degrade, then certainly it is going to affect our hydrological system, drainage system. It will restrict the water percolation into soil and will aggravate the flooding and aggravate the drought also. So these kind of things are also there. Then when reconstruction and recovery is there, usually we think that okay, something is destroyed, some building is destroyed in disaster, now reconstruct. So how do we reconstruct it? If a school was destroyed in an earthquake, or a school was destroyed because of fallen because of flooding, and if we construct the same school the same way, it means we have recreated the risk. If a disaster occurred and if the school has fallen, if a hospital has fallen, if a building has fallen, if a bridge has fallen, it means something was already wrong, something was faulty, something was not perfect. And if we are constructing the same thing, it means again we are constructing the imperfect thing, and therefore we say that build back better. So when we are reconstructing, then we have to relook that even the road may be smaller, even the building may be smaller, even there are lesser number of rooms, but those should be safer. So that should be the kind of a standard now we are talking about. Then recovery is very important. What is recovery? Recovery, when we say recovery is not only building. So for example, if we provide building to people, then what he will eat. So livelihood is also important, food security is also important. If we give him a building, he also needs water, he needs so many other things also, he needs recreation also. So recovery also requires livelihood, natural resources, so many things. So it is not that you just give him building and everything will be done. So then see the kind of environmental damages of disasters. So this is also important thing, that disaster should also not be looked only as a death or injury incident, but if we do not take care of environment, it is going to lead to a future disaster. It will create new diseases, it will create new flooding and more aggravated flooding in the future. So these kind of things are also there. And this is important because many times people are talking about climate change. Anything happens, people will take excuse and people will say that oh, it is not my fault, it is because of climate change. So climate change is becoming a new excuse. The people are finding climate change as a god, so that say that I have not done, God has done. God has done the flooding. So if you do not clean the drainage, if you have obstructed all the drainage, if you have filled all your water bodies with garbage or have constructed buildings, so you have done all the wrong. You have flawed your land uses, and then say that no, it is not my fault, it is because climate change. That is not correct, because climate change doesn't give only all the disasters. Climate change has what it has done, it has only aggravated certain hazardous scenarios. For example, it has changed the rainfall pattern, it has changed the wind pattern, it has also aggravated the glacial retreat. But besides this, the local environmental changes, anthropogenic failures, anthropogenic faults, when they combine both, are creating new disasters. So very important thing, that when we say that we have to manage climate change related disasters, we have to look into anthropogenic faults also, anthropogenic failures also, and the entire design of this thing. For example, if the urban flooding are growing day by day, now every city is getting flooded every year. Every town or city, at least 50% or some part is getting flooded. Why? Because the drainage system is not perfect, because the landscape of the urban landscape is not correct, because we have not taken the watershed characteristics of that area into consideration when we have done master planning. So we have to take care of those things. We have destroyed all the water bodies, so where the water will go? And many a times the drainage is planned without taking care of the runoff, the rainfall runoff. Usually the sewerage conditions and the wastewater generated from the households are taken consideration, but the rainfall runoff is not taken consideration. So rainfall runoff becomes excess. So we have to look for that what kind of redundancy is required. And here actually it is just showing that what kind of things environment science side and disaster side. So many D is a direct impact. So very interesting things are there. Then recently we have done this the National Action Plan for Chemical Disasters. So there also how we are using GIS and remote sensing technology. This kind of sciences are there. This is also again environmental degradation. And in a nutshell, that how we use science and how we apply science in improving the miseries because of disasters, particularly climate-related disasters. So this is a two-wheel. This is a concept that we have adopted. We have developed this concept jointly with an organization in USA. Two-wheel concept that we say understanding vulnerability. So it is very important that we have to understand the vulnerability of our agents and systems. Systems are like any system, infrastructure system, ecosystems, all are systems. Agents, the people and institutions. So we have to understand that what is the vulnerability, because rainfall doesn't give you a disaster. It is the faulty land use, it is the faulty location of a building, it is the faulty design of a building, it is the faulty location of our infrastructure that gives a disaster. So disaster is always man-made actually. Nature doesn't give a disaster. Nature only can give only hazard but not disaster. So this we have to understand that vulnerability is very important. For example, if I am vulnerable, I can fall sick. If I am not vulnerable, I will not fall sick. So what I do to reduce my vulnerability, for example, if I am going a rainy day, I will have an umbrella, or I will wear a raincoat, or I will not go out. I will use a car instead of bike, or I will do a video conference. Will not go out in rainfall. So whatever, even if I go out and I am facing rain, then I immediately wash myself, I dry myself, or have a cup of coffee or some medicine or whatever. So internal and external arrangement that we do to avoid vulnerability, that is developing resilience. So whether we have our buildings in the low-lying areas, if low-lying areas, then we have to have a different design. The normal design will not work. Maybe we need to have a different material, we need to have a different length height of the buildings, we have to redesign. Maybe for example in Assam and other countries, people have bamboo housing, the wooden housing. Even in Maharashtra also, a lot of people now started that how bamboo can be used for resilient housing that can protect even in case of earthquake also. So these kind of things people are thinking. So after vulnerability assessment has done, we use a mechanism called shared learning. So we say that we are not expert, we bring the scientific knowledge, we blend with the local knowledge, and we work as catalyst. And then we try to work with the local community, we try to work with the district administration to work to develop the resilience. So that is what is important. And I always, this is kind of a study, for example, that how ecosystem services are important. This is for the wetland, Okla wetland in Delhi. This is about the Chennai research paper. We published in 2011 only that the Chennai, what kind of flooding is going to be there, and Chennai or Bangalore. Now, both the cities we published, but it was not taken into consideration to planning process. So that is important. So in nutshell, what I say that if we make a summary, then three pillars are most important in improving the disaster resilience process in urban, industrial, and rural systems. So economic resilience, people should have that capacity, and for this maybe the insurance is very important. People should have that kind of economic, and then like see micro credit, micro insurance kind of things are also there. Then engineering infrastructure. For example, if we look at the cyclone Hudhud and the Visakhapatnam airport had flown away, and when it was Chennai flood, then the airport was marooned. So whose money is that? And it is not a small money. It's a huge amount of money that goes into an airport, and all that is our money. It is public money. And if public money, the safety systems are not taken care, then the huge damage is there because of even a single disaster. So we have to take care of these things. Then certainly ecosystem based DRR that I was discussing a lot, and then there are certain things which are repetitive. I will skip those because the time is lesser. This is a new tool that is called Flash Environmental Assessment Tool. Please, some of the students can download it from the website. It is freely available, and can see that how GIS and space-based technology can help you making a comparison of the entire environment before disaster and after the disaster. And then you can make a assessment. Then these kind of training modules also have been developed by us, that how law is useful, how flooding can be mitigated, how the critical infrastructure are important, especially for their protection from natural disasters, how geoinformatics is available in chemical disaster management. So these kind of things are also there that we have published. Many of our publications are available on my ResearchGate also. I'll be giving my ResearchGate address. This is the publication. Then in the center there is a publication in URIA, that is District Collector's Handbook on Disaster Management. So these kind of publications are also there. All the publications are available on my ResearchGate. You can look at these publications. This is a book comprising 40 case studies on various aspects of disaster management. And this is a new dimension that is emerging in the peri-urban systems. Peri-urban systems is an area which is between rural and urban. So no one takes care, neither rural planning nor urban planning. But those are very important because our sewage is destroyed and all the vegetation is grown there. All labor people and slums dwellers are living there. Then the grain mandi is also there. So these kind of things are there. Then other report, heat wave. Then look at this Prime Minister's agenda. Our Prime Minister has given 10-point agenda, and if you can look at my ResearchGate, you will download that. What are the important things? The item 5 is leverage technology to enhance efficiency of disaster risk management. And then this is the picture of various meetings we have published. So many things, and these are other publications which are also available, so you can take the benefit. This is our recent publication, Nature-Based Solutions for Resilient Ecosystems and Societies. But what is important, that we have to use the science and technology, and we have to convert into plan. This is just a joke to or a cartoon to see that even the dogs are sitting and doing a meeting for making a plan. I ask you that whether your colleges have developed a disaster management plan or not. So you all students should take initiative. All students should make a group. You prepare a disaster management plan for your college campus, that if some disaster happens, how you are going to deal it. So that will be kind of a good project work. But this is the caution, that the plan should not be like this. Plan should be simple, plan should be handy, plan should be easy to understand. So with this, I deliberately tried to use the simplest language so that all the students can really grasp it. And I just wanted to motivate all the students to use, to look at these questions, to see that how science and technology can be used better and better for improving the disaster management system in the country. Thank you very much. This is my ResearchGate, which you can use for accessing more information and all my publications. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Over to you.
We had a great lecture. It's very useful for us,
Thank you,
sir.
sir.
Now we have our interaction session. If you have any doubts or questions related to this,
I can take only one or two. I can take one or two questions because I have another meeting to start actually.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Any questions?
Participant, you can unmute yourself and you can directly ask the chief guest, because time is very less.
I think they have no question.
Yes, sir. Somebody is asking that Ms. Tripathi Tiwari, sir, can we recycle the yearly flood water? Because many studies claim that we will have to live without pure water after 10 years. Is this right? If yes,
Precisely. We should not let even single drop of water go waste. That is required. Otherwise, we will be facing severe drought even immediately after floods. So that is the reason we have to start redesigning everything, redesigning our urban system. We should not allow even a single drop of water, basically. And there actually our engineers, our students have to think for the new models. They should look at that. How can we percolate? How can we enhance the percolation of this water into groundwater? How can we not allow this water even for evaporation also?
thank you, sir. The last question.
So one question, please.
Yes, so you can.
Yes, sir. Actually, can you, sir, explain how the disaster in the agriculture sector system can be managed?
Yes, please. Can you repeat?
Sir, can you, sir, explain how the disasters, natural disaster, happening in our day-to-day life, is affecting the agricultural sector. Is there any research paper in books you have?
Yes. I got the point. Recently, we have developed the National Disaster Management National Plan for Agriculture Disaster for Ministry of Agriculture. Agriculture is the backbone of the country, and when we say agriculture, it is not only crop. Agriculture includes livestock also. Agriculture includes your post harvest produce also. Basically, it is a matter of food security and livelihood. Agriculture is the livelihood of around 65% people of our rural communities. So agriculture is affected by a number of disasters. Recently, we had that the locust attack, and then flooding is also affecting every year, and then drought is very common. Then even new kind of things that in Jharkhand like states, even the elephant attack is destroying a lot of agriculture. So agriculture. In fact, I can speak for an hour on agriculture, but time is less. So I would like to take excuse. So I have to go for another meeting. So I think kindly allow me to close.
Yeah. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. So from my side, thank you very much, and all the best to all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Now I welcome Ms. K. Rajapriya, finally Department of Information Technology, to deliver a vote of thanks.
The more you are thankful, the more you attract things to be thankful for. It's my privilege to have been asked to prepare a vote of thanks on this occasion. On behalf of the organizer, I extend my sincere thanks to the resource person, Dr. Anil Kumar Gupta sir, who accepted our invitation to be the chief guest and delivered wonderful lecture and took out valuable time to spend with us. And I also wish to express my gratitude to our correspondent sir, director sir, and principal sir for providing encouragement and support for conducting this webinar. And today, my words are not enough to express the gratitude. I would like to thank Dr. M. Neelandan sir, Dean of Research and Development and Head of Science and Humanities Department, who always stand by us, guide us, and lead us in a right path. As no program can become successful with a single person, so I extend my big thanks to all the faculty members of Science and Humanities Department. An event of this dimension cannot happen overnight. The wheels start rolling months in advance. We have been fortunate enough to be backed up by a team and dedicated organizing committee members. And I wish to extend my heartfelt thanks to the organizing committee members of this webinar. Last but not the least, I thank the final year BE Mechanical and BTech Information Technology Department students of our National Engineering College. Once again, thank you very much to all who assembled here to make this program a successful one.
In the chat box, you can find the feedback link. After finishing your feedback link, you can receive your certificate.